Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Soulful Abundance Festival. My name is Elise Preston, and I'm your host, founder of Be More Connected. And today I am so thrilled to be here with the wonderful Michelle Kuei. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
And Michelle is a certified confidence and leadership mindset coach who helps women warriors awaken the greatness within and go from imposter syndrome to impact. She is the author of a memoir, Perfectly Normal, an immigrant story of making it in America, an inspirational journey of overcoming adversity after an automobile accident that changed her life trajectory. Michelle was born in Taiwan and grew up in New York City, but today she lives in Los Angeles. Michelle enjoys a nice cup of coffee and meaningful conversations with friends. Her favorite food is Hawaiian pizza, and we are so grateful to have this opportunity to share space with her today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. And I'd love to be able to start off by having you speak a bit about your own journey of healing and how you found your way to the work that you're doing in the world today.
Yeah. Wow. It's a long story. So it traced back when it started. My hurt started when I was age 11. And right after the car accident, I was going in and out of the hospital. The doctor had to do a lot of post preparation and post patching and fixing on my body. Both of my legs were shattered, so the bone wasn't growing. They had to go back and do a lot of surgery. So I counted there's total of 13 scars on my leg, both legs. And by the time I came to America when I was 15 years old, I was told by my doctor, he said to me before I discharged, here's a pair of metal brace for you to wear up until you stop growing. So I would need you to put this on. And when I saw them, it was like a big pair of gigantic metal robot shoes. Wow. Where it's not, it doesn't look very pretty, and I can't match with any outfit at all. I was stuck with it, and I was given these pairs to wear for a long time. And in order to walk it properly, I had to use 2 crutches. By the time I got into high school, I started to wanted to look pretty, just like any teenage girl who wants to dress up and mini skirts, go out with boys. No, not gonna happen. I was pretty much stuck inside doing everything that I can think of indoor. And every time I go out, I find ways to hide myself, my body image, the pair of shoes that I was wearing at the time. I used to wear long skirts. I used to wear stockings just to cover up my scars that I have on my leg. And the whole reason why I was doing that was because I didn't want to be the focus, the center of attention every time I go out to public area. And so the whole 29 years following my car accident, I basically spent a lot of time just feeling that judgment and constant body shaming. When I stand in front of the mirror, it was the moment that myself start telling myself, look at you, how dare you to think that you are even pretty? How dare you to think that you're actually normal? How dare you to think that you can actually do things in this world? So there's a lot of constant self-doubt, that imposter syndrome that got turned on. And I was shaming myself for who I am. So going through that journey, I remember waking up one day, and I finally said to myself, this is enough. I don't want to live in the life where I have to wake up in the middle of the night, crying myself to sleep and wishing that I can somehow, like a sci-fi movie, chop off my legs and install a new pair one. And then tomorrow when I open the door, I will look perfectly normal. But that wasn't the case. Life didn't happen that way. I open up, waking up the next day, I'm still the same person. I'm still trapped in this body that I continue to shame on. And that's not a very inspiring way to live. And it's not a very, very uplifting world to be in, because then I'm constantly thinking, am I being loved and I'm being seen? Am I being accepted to a society where beauty and that things that's pretty is highly appreciated and valued? Didn't have all that. but I'm trapped here. What do I want to do about it? So that first thing I did was I decided to start working out in the gym. I signed myself up to a gym membership. And I said, the very least I can do is maybe I can take care of my body first, right? If I can't love it, let me just accept it first. So I started to work on my body, clean up my diet, and then it got the ball rolling. It got me going, and I decided to hire a personal trainer to help me with everything that I'm doing. And during that time, my friends were going on a hike. And when I came home, you know how friends are so excited. Oh yeah, I went to the trip. It was amazing. I want to be part of that conversation. And I think the longest time I was struggling with that sense of belonging. I felt that in a society where beauty is being appreciated, I didn't belong to a conversation or belong to a group. So I was looking for that sense of belonging. So I told my personal trainer, I said, listen, I need you to help me because I would like to go hike. And he said, oh, great. Michelle, that's amazing. You want to go hike. Where do you want to hike? I said, I want to go to Machu Picchu. And so his eyes wide open, his jaw starts drawing. He's like, where? I said, Machu Picchu. And he said, a lot of people want to go to Machu Picchu and that's in their bucket list, but they're healthy individual. Are you sure you want to do this? And I was so adamant because I was so sick and tired of being stuck in this body. I was so sick and tired of feeling sorry for myself and that tragic accident. I wish none of it had happened. So at that point, I was trying to prove to myself that I can do what other people do, even though I walk with crutches, even though I look different, even though I am short, I can do all that. So I told him exactly that. I said, you're going to help me with that. And this is how we're going to do it. So we went on a whole year of training. So by September 2016, I booked myself a ticket, flew myself with my 2 crutches and a small luggage to Machu Picchu, and I hiked through the 26 miles of Inca Trail. So the 4 days we were out, we were camping outside, and every day, I remember the first day was the toughest for me because I didn't know what to expect. It was my first time hiking through the Inca Trail, and I must have hiked 8 or 10 hours to get to the campsite that very same night. And I was the slowest among all the people who have joined me on the team. There was people coming from all over the world. There's people from New Zealand, Canada, New England. And so we were all on the same trip, but I was the slowest person. And I remember the first day I was walking with a donkey. They were carrying a lot of our everyday 4-day supplies of food and all the equipment. And so I was just pretty much the last behind the monkey. I was slower than the donkey. I was walking on that trail. That first night was kind of like a point of no return. So people who are thinking about participating on the trip, you have 2 options. You can hike through, but if you happen to be the slowest in the group, just expect that your tool leader is going to sit you down on the very first night to ask you whether or not you want to continue that trip. And I, being the slowest on that team, I was asked to whether or not this is something that I wanted to do. I remember I was just listening. I was crying when my tool leader said, Michelle, you were so slow that, I really worried that you won't be able to make it. And he was doing everything possible to he was really expressing his concern, but he was also expressing the fact that, I don't believe that you can do this. Are you sure you want to do this? Wow. I was sitting there, I was crying, and I realized that was my point of no return in my life, not just on this trip, but in my life. In my life, that moment was the most important moment for me to decide, do I want to go back and live the way I used to live? Or do I want to move forward and just experience it? Even if I die in the mountain, I want it to be different. And I didn't want to do it for someone else anymore. I want to do it for myself.
Yes.
And that moment, as I sat there in the chair, was the moment I start to heal from all my past hurt, from all the resentment that I had carried, from all the baggages that I was putting on my shoulder to carry this far. And it was in that moment I realized that I don't need to prove to anybody else but to myself, that I belong here.
And I feel like this is just such a profound story to be able to share. And I so appreciate how you walked us through so many different aspects of your own journey and your own healing. And it is so empowering to be able to hear the lived experiences and stories of folks, particularly where for you, you had this turning point, this momentous moment where you had to get curious and ask yourself, how do I want to continue on? How do I want to continue living my life? And that for you, it really looked like answering that question, or finding a different way to root into that question of belonging, instead of struggling with your sense of belonging coming from validation from the outside world, really being able to tap into and tune into your own internal connection, and knowing that you always get to belong to yourself. And I'd love to be able to hear a bit more about the ways in which you have been developing your own self-leadership and moving through some of those deep core woundings and challenges that you talked about that are related to imposter syndrome and feeling as though you don't belong.
I feel the world, how we exist in this world is really by three elements, and they form a triangle. So I have this triangle on my logo of my company, and the three triangles represent how every single one of us is composed. And the first piece on the triangle is our thinking mind, our analytical mind, the way that we think. So our mind is composing on one of the triangle side, right? And the other side is our emotional side, our feeling. How do we feel about going into our business? How do we feel about doing something, picking up a habit, doing the things that we do? A lot of it has to do with the feeling that's attached to it. And then the third piece on that triangle is our soul, or sometimes you can call it our intuition. And the three pieces together, it's how we operate and function in this world. Without any single one of them, life is kind of out of balance at all times. So if you have only the emotion and being analytical, chances are you're not using your intuition. You're not tapping into answering your soul. And I believe that every single one of us have a calling from that intuition, from that higher power, from that soul that we have to answer to. And I think for the longest time, I was so focusing on, everything that I didn't want to happen happened to me, all the accidents and anything that didn't work out, it's all happening to me. So I was spending a lot of time in that mind of just analyzing how unfortunate I am, how busy I am, and what I'm trying to do to prove to everybody that I'm capable of doing this. And the feeling behind it is feeling sorry, feel like a victim, or feeling, that self-doubt and worry and trying to be perfect. So I wasn't answering to my soul purpose, my soul calling the whole entire time. And when I started to have that breakthrough moment, while sitting there and thinking that this is not the journey I want to go back to, I start to quiet myself. I no longer listen to the voice of the noise that's out there in the world outside of me. I start to listen to the voice that's been calling me, however small. Sometimes it's a whispering sound. You might not even hear it until you quiet your mind. When you are willing to let go of listening to the mind, that busy noise, you start to listening to that whispering voice inside of you saying, Michelle, you have a purpose in here. And there's something that you do so well that no one else can do. And that is your purpose. That is the way that you serve to the world. That's how and why you are here. So I started to learn how to listen to it. I listened to my own intuition by, number one, I practice meditation. So I would spend hours meditating or learning how to meditate. Initially, it was a struggle. I didn't know how to sit down and just quiet my mind. It was like constantly battle, just trying to listen to it, right?
I relate.
Like, what do you mean I need to listen to my heart and intuition? I can't do that. I gotta go to this place. I gotta go run this errand. I gotta go to post office. I gotta mail this. It's a constant struggle. But then I realized that, a lot of time meditation is just by focusing, channeling our concentration, channeling our focus to something that is happening right this very moment. If I'm feeling anxiety, that's okay. Channel that thoughts and just think about, what is it I'm anxious about? Like, I'm curious what that feeling is inside. Let me just go there. And when you start fighting it, when you stop fighting it, that was a moment that you start to see options. And I think options is a big piece for a lot of people. In order to heal, and part of the healing journey is know that you have options, you have choices. That's how I began.
So powerful. And I really love how you broke down this beautiful structure for how we all operate, in terms of it really being this powerful interconnected system of our thinking mind, our emotional side, and our soul and our intuition. And that if we aren't tuning into and listening to all of these things, that there's going to be, as you were beautifully describing, there's going to be a level of imbalance to how we're operating and how we're moving in the world. And that we do live in a culture that is filled with so many distractions and is so fast paced, and it can feel very challenging to allow ourselves to get quiet, to let go of the constant chatter of the mind and listen in to the soft whispers of the heart and the soul. But that really is where our power is sourced from, how we're able to understand our higher calling, our soul's purpose. And it was so juicy. I really love the way that you were describing that piece about options, right? Like, just even being empowered to know that we have options, because oftentimes we're operating in ways that are very reactionary. We just have to respond to what's in front of us. But if we were able to expand our lens, expand our view, and see that actually there's always an abundance of options that we could choose from, and we get to be in that driver's seat of making those aligned choices versus being in a space of operating in a particular just pattern or default that doesn't actually support us.
Our thinking mind will say, I have to do things, and our soul driven or soul centered mind will say, okay.
Yeah. It just feels good.
Yes, let's do this.
Right. So good. And so I would love if you could share a bit more information about energy leadership and how that informs the work that you do and how you support your clients.
Yeah. So I think looking at things as having options is a good way to lead into the energy leadership. So the energy leadership, this is actually going to credit my the coaching program I graduated from, iPad coaching. And this whole concept of energy leadership, how energy leadership works is it provides you with ways to choose based on the level of perception or your level of consciousness that you operate in this world. So there's two types of energy in this world. Most people know it as positive, and some people know it as positive and negative. But in the energy leadership world, we call the negative energy as catabolic energy and the positive energy as anabolic energy. The catabolic energy are those that's debilitating, that drains you, that makes you feel that you have to do a lot of work in order to accomplish something that's more of a fighting or resistant. The reason why it's catabolic is because when we're under stress, our body triggers a lot of release of these catabolic hormones that put you in a state of fight and flight. So your reaction to the situation is typically coming out from a fight and flight mode. Whereas the anabolic energy, it's mostly because your body is not under stress, and chances are you'll have more opportunity to experience the happiness, joy, fulfillment. And that is because our body releases these anabolic hormones like dopamine, adrenaline, epinephrines, or these happy hormone, where it boosts your level of energy up so that you're fully engaged into the things that you do. Now, with the 2 types of energy, it's further broken down into 7 different levels. And these 7 different levels will determine the type of filter that we wear to see what is going on around the world and also within us, the inner world. So the 7 energies are, first one is the victim energy. This is the energy where we spend a lot of time feeling like we are at the effect of an event. So take, for example, my car accident. I felt that the car accident was something that happened to me and only me. But in reality, the car accident happens to a lot of people, and people have a different level and different experience of tragedy in their life. So, but when I was operating from level 1 or the victim mindset, it's really about everything happened to me rather than happen around me. So that's level 1. Level 2 is this more of a fighting mode where we get into anger, overwhelming feelings or stress. And typically the way that we respond to it is either we power through, right? And this is very commonly seen in management where people are powering through. No one else is doing this. Let me just pick up all this stuff and I'll just do it myself. So that's the level 2 conflicting energy or perceptions of how we see the world. Sure. The level 3, next level, would be the level of responsibility or the level of sometimes tolerance, because we no longer see ourselves as being the victim, but we just trying to get through the day by, you know what, someone else didn't do their work. Let me just pick up so I can get over this and just move on. So a lot of that has to do with just taking on personal responsibility, but we do that because we just don't want to spend a lot of time around people with drama, but we're not really addressing how we're feeling underlying that issue. So level 3 is more about personal responsibility and just to getting through the day so that it would be easier for us. Moving on, and there's something good about level 3 because it opens up the door to a higher level of consciousness or a higher level of perception, and you start seeing things very differently. So level 4 is the next level, which is the level of compassion. And when we look around the world, there's a lot of us, we are all about practicing self-compassion and also compassion towards others. We're putting others first. Giving is always better than receiving, right? We all have that belief where giving is come first, and then we think about receive. So compassion energy is very loving energy. Put someone else first before we put ourselves in. A lot of time I think of mom. Mom always think about their kids and putting their kids first, and they think about themselves last. Level 5 is creating this win-win perception or win-win situation for everybody. So when something happened, we no longer perceive it as, oh, this is such a tragedy, it only happened to us, what can we do, and who can we blame, or how can we put up with it so that we can move on. Level 5, we start thinking about how to turn these lemons into lemonade. So we start looking at opportunity of take situation as it is and turn into something that every one of us will win from that situation. So a lot of entrepreneurs will have an operate coming out from this level of perception because we see opportunity, turning something into something that's win for everybody. Yes. The next level is the level 6 perception. Level 6 perception, we start not just looking at creating a win for everybody, we're actually co-creating that win. So each one of us will show up contributing to something to create a win for everyone because we are as a whole. So it's not about you winning and I win. It's about we all win. So everybody wins by co-creating something together. And this is the level where you start noticing people start using their intuition a lot more. What works, what didn't work. They start going into being very creative, and people actually lose track of time. A lot of time, like right now, we're losing track of time because we're having so much a good time together. Yeah. And that is the level 6 of perception of co-creating something good, something juicy out of this.
Yes.
highest level is level 7. Level 7, a lot of people don't really hang around in this space, but a lot of my intuitive people, my soulful entrepreneur, they hang around in level 7 quite often. Level 7 is a perception of, life is just an experience. We're a soul within a human body to experience this world. So all the things that we experience, there is no black or white judgments around, right? Everything is just beautifully as it is, existing all around us, and we're here to experience it all together. And so you no longer have that judgment against anybody or against yourself, because life is an experience. So that's this energy level, the 7 different energy level. So when we start looking at different levels, it gives us the option to choose at our will. So let's say I face the same accident. I had the accident when I was 11. I can choose it to have this level 1 being the victim, or I can choose to see it as, there's a reason behind why this happened. What is the reason? Let me find out. So you start taking on personal responsibility. There has to be a reason why this happened to me. And then you can take it to the next level. You can think about the win-win, right? So I can share my story so that my story can inspire someone in the audience who may experience something similar, maybe to that, not to that extent, or maybe even something worse than what I had experienced. And hopefully by sharing, I will create a win for that person, and that person too will win. So going from level 1, the victim, to a level 3, responsibility, and then moving on to an opportunity perspective, or the way that we think and feel about what is going on around the world and also to ourselves.
Yes. And I feel like having this languaging, having these seven different levels really does invite us into a space of choice, as you said, and also invites us into a space of elevation and expansion. Because when we are sometimes mired in the pain or the trauma or the experience of something that we're moving through, it can be hard to see beyond today. It can be hard to see beyond where we currently sit. And so being able to have a framework like this one, I think, is so powerful, because we're able to see what's possible, what else exists beyond the level of energy that we're in right now. And just acknowledging that we are, every one of us, we are these really complex and dynamic and multidimensional beings, and that we get to move through these different levels of energy, and not necessarily saying that it's like possible to even be at level 7 all the time, right? Like we, as humans, we're designed to experience the ebbs and flows and the emotionality and the mental struggles, and all of that is beautiful, as you were saying, that we can explore what it means to not have so much judgment or attachment or fear around certain experiences, but being able to find like, what are the lessons and blessings in anything that is a part of our journey.
Mm-hmm. I experience a lot of anger, or level 2, when I turn on the news at night.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it's something that's very relatable for a lot of people right now. When they turn on the news, there's always something going on. And so you can use that same energy leadership to choose. Now, if I were to approach this with a different energy level, what would that be like? Maybe start taking personal responsibility. I'm going to take my responsibility by turning the TV off.
Right.
Right? That would be an option. Yeah. Or, I can do something to help others, to help navigating through this difficult time. That would be a level 4. That would be another option. So it starts to give us the options to choose.
Yes. So beautiful. And I think, as I'm thinking about my own community members and clients, I feel a lot of folks who identify as leaders and healers and change makers often find themselves in that level 4, like responsibility, feeling like they have to take it all on and fix all of the challenges that they see. And then I think many as well fall into that, that level 4 or 5. I might have gotten my numbers mixed up here.
No worries.
I think responsibility is actually 3 and compassion is 4. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. In the level 4 around compassion, where there is this, you know, overextension of giving, but not quite open and ready to receive yet. And so as I think about that, I'm excited about the ways in which this conversation can be supportive for folks, and just having a level of awareness around what some of those other choices are, what some of those other energy levels are that exist. And I think being able to be in community with others and have dynamic conversations around energy and how we're approaching situations can be so nourishing and so supportive. And I'm wondering, for you, from your own work and your own life experience, how has being in community been something that you've seen as an important tool for facilitating healing?
I get a lot of creative moments just by talking to people and connecting to people. And I think, if we were to approach it as from the perspective of opportunity, I want to create that win for everybody who is in my community, right? So I don't want to just be successful. I want everybody to be successful, because I believe that every one of us have a purpose in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. And the more that we can help to lift each other up, the more benefit the whole entire world can receive. So just by me helping another person, that person will go out. It's really contagious how this will spread. So by having a community, not only do I get to know that person, what that person do, I also give that person an opportunity to come in and into my world and think about what is it that they can learn from me, what it is that they can take away and actually amplify it or make it even better. So we start to co-create our own world by open up the door for others to come in. So we're inviting others to come in, to share their knowledge, to share their wisdom, to share their resources. And sometimes there's so many ideas that I got from someone else. I'm like, I didn't think about that. Let me think how I can use it to help myself in my business. So by having a community where we start to use a lot of each other's resources, talents, gifts. And so I would imagine, if I were to describe a level, I said the community that I want to operate out from is really that level 6, the co-creation community.
Yes. Oh, so powerful. And I'd love to be able to hear a little bit about your current growth edges and areas of expansion in your own life and spiritual practice at the moment.
So earlier, interesting how you asked, because, I think the last time we met, I haven't gone into this whole rebranding myself and really think about narrowing down to a specific niche, or who do I talk to? Who am I serving? The more specific I got to, I started to really align with my soul purpose. My soul is talking to me that I don't want to just work with everybody. And I experienced this back when earlier in the year, I was looking in front of my website, I was looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, so imposter syndrome is great. It's big. I've been using this for a long time, but I'm struggling to align myself with the message behind what I'm saying, what I'm doing. And so the more that I got into alignment with my soul purpose is, I started to realize that, yes, I'm doing great on imposter syndrome. It was a big piece of how I overcame and become who I am. Yeah. But this is not what I'm helping people with. I'm helping them to overcome their imposter syndrome so that they can be seen and heard and get higher. They are me when I was 3 years or 2 years ago when I first started out on my business. They're struggling with that visibility. They're struggling with just getting their message out. That's what I'm helping them with. Right. And the moment that I step into that truth, step into answering my purpose, it was like, oh my gosh, everything just clicked. So now I'm working on rearranging my website, and I'm like putting course together. I'm also offering spotlight challenges that I'm helping others to create that visibility online, to speak up more, doing a lot of public speakings and all that stuff so that they can get seen, get heard, and get hired.
Yes. Oh, so powerful. And I love that you wove in this element about really realigning with your soul's purpose. And that's where the magic really gets to be sourced from. And I feel like that perfectly leads us into one of our concluding questions, which is, what does soulful abundance mean to you?
Soulful, we're always in abundance. There's always a lot of things all around us, and it's within us. So never be afraid to share your knowledge, share your wisdom, because by sharing, you're actually allowing that abundance to come in more. So you'll receive a lot more, whether it's money, happiness, joy, friendship. It's just all coming in. That is abundance to me. Abundance is a never ending, never dry up well that you don't need to put in anything to it. You just have to simply being there and doing exactly what you're doing, that authenticity, just being true to yourself, and just by doing who you are deep down inside. And now the soulful piece comes in because, again, your soul is calling you to do a purpose, to some of us have faith-based. So God is giving you a perfect design. You have a design in this lifetime that you were placed here to do. What is your purpose? What are you supposed to be doing that you are not? And when we're feeling that we're out of balance, we're not, like something is yucky or not clicking, that's typically because we're not answering to that soul. So without this body, this body will decay, it will die, it will fade away, it's gonna get old. It doesn't matter how much makeup we put on, it's still gonna get right? No matter how much Botox you put,
Right.
this body is not what is permanent. What is permanent is this huge amount of energy that's residing inside of us, and that is our soul that needs to be doing the work rather than this body doing the work.
Yes.
So that is soul abundance. We don't get anything by doing it. We get abundance by just the way that we're being.
Yes, simply being, leaning into that authenticity. Well, I am so grateful that we've had the opportunity to connect today. And just being able to speak with you, I feel so energized. Your energy is so magnetic and warm and compassionate. And I know that all of our listeners are going to be so blessed to receive this conversation and just be able to receive all that you've offered and shared. And so I would love if you could share ways that our audience can stay connected with you.
Yeah, they can find me on my website. It's under construction, but there's still a website. It's at elevatelifecoaching.org. Or they can find me on Instagram at Elevate Life Coach. And I hang out a lot on Facebook at the Confidence Lounge for Soulful Entrepreneur.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Michelle, it's been such an honor and a treat to connect with you. And I'm so looking forward to the ways that we'll be able to collaborate moving forward. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to today's interviews. And I am looking forward to catching you tomorrow for our next set of interviews for the Soulful Abundance Festival. Take care, everyone.